Oh my goodness, my sweet Konrad. Whatever is the matter?
Oh, Jono, I'm still sick from eating all this candy after Halloween.
Oh no, that is just awful to hear in my ears. Luckily, I just came back from the video store and I rented 2 movies. Maybe that'll make you feel better.
Oh, that sounds great. Just as long as there's no candy. No candy, Jono. I mean it. Seriously. No candy. None. At all.
Oh, well, what about John Candy?
I've had your candy, Jono, and for the 8th time, fiberglass is not cotton candy.
First of all, if it's not meant to be eaten, then why does it taste so good? Secondly, I'm talking about John Candy, the lovable Canadian actor, the one that's the John Hughes.
Oh, that John Candy. Well, perfect. Just as long as there's no, giant foods or anything in either of them.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Film Fights. I am your fearless host, Jono Rodriguez. That was on purpose. And with me, of course, is my churlish, girlish, squirrelish, whirly dervilish, Ethel Merlish. Do I got one more? Burly Konrad Hartman. Hey, Konrad, how's it going?
Boy, I'm just always so
enamored,
flattened by the lovely superlatives you give me at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah.
If you thought I meant flattered, I did not.
You are flattened.
I'm flattened.
Yeah. Very, very good and precise. And yes, as the lovely spectators may have caught on by now, yes, the very first 5 seconds is always rehearsed and the exact same thing. Well, actually, I almost fucked it up because I almost said hero again. But when I get to introducing Konrad, I literally, and this is peeling back the curtain, I will look into the heavens and do the whole thing. But when I start to say those wonderful adjectives, wonderful in quotations, I will stare right at my co-host, Konrad. And the words just spill out of my mouth like a faucet of memories.
Oh, Faucet of Memories, new band name.
We're talking about... first off, Konrad, what's the show about? What do we do on this show?
I think you got a pretty good idea of it just from this exchange, but... we picked 2 movies and pit them against one another in a brutal grudge match with one coming out on top to reign supreme. Tonight, we are finally moving on from horror for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about 2 John Hughes, John Candy classic films. We are going to be pitting Uncle Buck against the great outdoors. So sit tight. We'll be right back now.
Right now.
So, Uncle Buck, I actually grew up watching this movie. I don't know if you did too. This was, funny enough, one of my grandma's favorite movies. For real.
Okay.
She loved Uncle Buck.
Sure.
And I think part of it was because I could watch it with her when I was a kid.
I feel like she might have liked it a lot. Sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all know the reason why grandmas like this movie. Because grandma was run over by a reindeer. So she prefers the buck.
Oh, boy.
It's hard to imagine somebody who didn't have childhood memories of Uncle Buck. It's weird to think someone watching it for the first time as an adult It seems weird to me.
Yeah, they've only seen it like clips of it on TikTok or whatever.
Because that's what I think of when
They've only seen deep fakes of John Candy.
Yeah, he's like doing TikTok dances in front of the kids.
Oh gosh, is this how you floss? Or I'm doing the shuffle. What is it? The Brooklyn Shuffle or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Uptown Shake.
It's cutting shapes. I'm cutting shapes with my feet.
As we're trying to predict the dance moves of tomorrow, that John Candy will be deep faked.
No,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's like, I saw it a lot as a kid, and it's one of those movies, that specifically ties to the childhood in a way that's I'm sure you feel this way, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that feel this way too, where you've seen a movie from your childhood and then you watch it again as an adult, and it's almost impossible to watch it objectively as an adult. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, not that you're tied to nostalgia, but just like, this movie can't exist today. You know what I mean? Like, it just...
Well, so in some ways, this movie is dated, which is...
well, yeah.
And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It's just, this movie came out in the 80s, and just like every movie that came out in the 80s, 90s, and even kind of in the early 2000s, some of them, a lot of the things that are happening would not happen if there were cellular telephones. Or like,
well, yeah,
they would just be, when Buck is trying to get what's her name, rude teen daughter,
yeah,
RTD is what we'll call her. He's trying to find RTD. He would just text her, and he'd be like, "Sup," and she'd like leave him on red.
No, she would say, "New phone, who dis?"
And then he'd type WYD. And then he'd send her a relatable meme, and she'd be like, for real, LMAO. And then he'd be like, no, but where are you at? No cap.
Well, like what I think you're hinting at here, and I agree, is that movies like this are just so culturally tied to when they came out, and to go on a sub mini rant, stop remaking specific movies. I'm not saying movies can't be remade. Okay,
sure.
Well, we get that all the time. The Thing was remade in the 80s, but anyway, the point is,
it was very good. Yeah,
you can have remakes, and they're good, but don't remake movies that are specifically like anchored with the culture. Like, you can't, because I'm imagining if this movie was remade, and Uncle Buck is dropping her off at the school, and so all those kids are in their fucking like Morrissey look or whatever. It's clearly like in like New York art school or whatever, because everybody looks like a goddamn like but if that translates to today, it's like it just changes the look of it, and then it immediately looks phony, because everyone's going to be like TikToking or doing this. And not to say that our culture now is disposable. I mean, that's absolute truth. Right. But that even just the relationship between them, like, the uncle and, and like, there's a family emergency and the parents have to leave. It's like, yeah, that wouldn't happen today because we have Alexa. Alexa practically babysits kids now.
Okay, well, I don't know about that, but do not leave your kids alone with Alexa.
You would be surprised. There are a lot of dumb people starting families. But yeah, it's such a cultural
there's
movie.
Stuff with like the car, and there's stuff with
you wouldn't have a car that backfires. That's not a joke anymore.
There's all these things like that. Yeah, like you can remake certain movies, but can you imagine like if they remade like Glengarry Glen Ross, and he's like, put the kombucha down.
And he would also be like, he wouldn't be so, because masculinity is toxic. He would just be like, listen, guys. He would grab a chair and sit on it backwards and be like, listen, guys, I want to rap with you. Again, I'm talking about the 80s and 90s, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's not the same thing.
And Uncle Buck, it also has this is kind of a sad thing, but I feel like it has a a family movie kind of charm that is not really present in modern film. And I think that part of that is because the dynamic of the family unit has changed so much. And this isn't like a thing on like values or who should be in the kitchen or who should be going to work or school or like, you know, that you shouldn't beat your kids or whatever. I'm just saying the dynamics have changed.
Well, from my experience, there's got to be a little kid beating because it really shapes you.
Yeah,
you know?
specifically it shapes your butt.
Because, like, is that why my butt is so lumpy?
Yeah. Can you imagine if that's why adults have lumbar problems? It's not sedentary lifestyle. They got lumpy ass cheeks from getting hit with belts.
Yeah, they should have thought of that in the studies. They should, instead of being like, "Oh, what's your diet and do you exercise?" It's like, "Were you also punished as a kid in a physical way?"
Yeah.
You know? Wow, that changed. Oh my God! Please, somebody, is there a study on that?
Wait, you mean my deviated septum comes from my dad punching me in the face over and over again 20 times a day when I was 4 years old?
4 years old.
Can you imagine grown man just punching a 4-year-old 20 times in the face a day? He'd end up looking like Erick Stoltz or whatever.
He's just punching you until you're choking on your own teeth.
Wait, is Erick Stoltz the actor or the Elephant Man?
He's the actor.
Oh, okay, that's not who I meant.
You're thinking of Erick Merrick. Or no.
Erick
his last
Merrick.
I'm sorry. His last name is Merrick. But what's his first name?
No wonder his dad wanted to beat the shit out of him. His name was Erick Merrick.
But he named him.
He was drunk. He doesn't remember. Oh, I'm so tired of looking at my drunken naming mistake, Erick Merrick.
You're going to pay for this. Only you, though. And he's like taking a shot while he's punching him. That's right. He had 3 arms. He was also weird.
That's one part of the reason why he was so insecure and wanted to punch his 4-year-old kid, Erick Merrick.
I think his name was James.
Just to spite him, Erick Merrick went into the holy church, so he became Erick Merrick the cleric.
And then he moved to America.
And named his son Derek. We can just Welcome to Rhyme Fights.
Welcome to Rhyme Fights. You know, it's always going to be a rhyme on this show. I mean, we are like the modern movie, comedy movie review rappers of today.
I mean, our show is basically a rhyme against humanity. So
it is. I mean, we have a lot of alliterations already. We got Film Fights. We had Franchise Frenzy.
We've got Pancakes.
And we will mail you them if you subscribe to us.
Right. That's right.
In some way. We're still learning how that works.
Some wet. Well, they'll be hot when we send them.
They'll still be hot when you get them.
Yeah.
We only mail them in the summer.
Lots of fiberglass. 50-50 pancake batter fiberglass.
We actually mail them. Like, this is how far we go with our fans.
Are you really pulling back the curtain?
If you order pancakes through us, we will mail those pancakes in a insulated box that also contains a little, like, what are those called? Like a hot plate. Okay. And the hot plate will be plugged into a battery-operated thing that whatever makes it work.
It can't just have a battery. It's got to be plugged into another separate charging unit.
Oh, I'm not. Well, I mean, it's cheaper that way. Pulling back the curtain, and we will mail that to you. It's very expensive because
the pancakes will be burned.
Because talk about this side up, like. Literally, do not disturb the dimensions because it is currently cooking a pancake.
Like, you're not even really, you probably shouldn't move it even at all.
You shouldn't really touch it.
We actually have to tell the delivery driver specifically, do not drive over 5 miles per hour.
Yeah. And they had to make stickers, like official warning stickers that are specific to this, which is very flammable. Like, very flammable.
Like, it's possible it's already on fire.
It says very flammable and then asterisk, and the ones that may already be on fire. Watch out.
So if you ordered pancakes from us and you got a fireball on your patio, that's what you get. I don't know.
That's the Film Fights guarantee.
That's the Film Fights guarantee. So speaking of pancakes,
yes, there were an amazing. First off, this was a family that was doing well, and this was a thing that was very common. Like in retrospect, seemed weird, especially with John Hughes movies.
I was going to say, is John Hughes a classist?
That's what I'm saying. Like all of his movies, again, in retrospect, wow, very well off people, very well off people. Even in Breakfast Club, the weirdo or the poor one, still looking pretty good, but
she's like, oh, I gotta go home and ride home in my Camaro. They're all like, did you say Camaro?
Oh, honey.
Wait, your parents still drive? They don't hire a driver?
Yeah, gross. But no, they had
She is eating like breakfast cereal on white bread, so...
Yeah, but it was name brand cereal.
No, that's true. She wasn't eating no malto meal, all right? She was eating Kellogg's.
She wasn't eating, leprechaun nuggets.
She wasn't eating Admiral Smunch. It was Captain Crunch.
She wasn't eating Choco Dracula.
She wasn't eating Citrus Hoops. She was eating Fruit Loops.
Whoa. Damn. Dig at Fruit Loops.
Yeah, she wasn't eating Goodbyes. She was eating Cheerios.
Wait, no. You're doing backwards.
No, I said she wasn't eating Goodbyes. She was eating Cheerios. Cheerios are the name brand. Goodbyes are the off brand. Because Cheerio means goodbye in English.
No. Oh, Cheerio.
She is eating the name brand, which is Cheerios.
It's like Aloha. It's the same both ways. Cheerio. Oh, Cheerio. Which is funny because in the British version of Mean Girls, like one way to snark your enemy would be like, oh, Cheerio, and she'd be Cheerio. Anyway, you like that made up joke I just made up, which made it even more obscure and unfunny. So no, he has this large the kitchen island
in the house in Uncle Buck.
It's a giant stove, just conveniently.
It's a giant flat top.
Yeah, yeah. Like you would see at a professional restaurant, like a Waffle House
or a Benihana Waffle House.
Yeah, I went top shelf before.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's making these giant pancakes, and they're they look delicious. And oh my god, that must have taken forever because it shows him flipping over one, but then it cuts to like he has a stack of like 100 or whatever. Well, he has like
20.
Yeah, and boy, that would have taken forever, and that would have cost a lot of money. In fact, Mythbusters, Jamie and Adam, how much would that have actually cost?
That would have cost about $850.22, adjusting for inflation.
Thank you, Jamie and Adam, collectively.
That's what they sound like combined.
Well, I was hoping you would do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then he says, "You should have seen the toast. I couldn't even get it through the door." Doing his best Rodney Dangerfield impression. I couldn't even get it through the door.
Oh, that was Rodney Dangerfield? I thought you were doing Snagglepuss for some reason.
Oh, you should have seen the toast. What? So how did... That's a funny line because, like, first of all, did you make huge bread? Or
no,
did you
think
order huge bread?
Well,
how did you toast it outside?
Well, that's
in Chicago in the winter.
Well, that's easily answered because
you're rolling your eyes at me like, what a stupid question.
That's easily answered. It's that it's one of two options, really. Okay, the first option involves him talking to tiny children and making a dad joke. The other option is that he ordered from La Mer's Bread. If you don't know La Mer's Bread, they make specialty bread, which
means the mom. Okay,
that's right. Yeah, and it's the size. It's like, oh, we can make it the size of a garage. Why would you want that? Doesn't matter. If you pay money, they'll do it. And they made this large bread, and he toasted it using a leaf blower because, like everyone knows, that's why leaf blowers are on specific timers of like 10 minutes, and it'll shut off because it'll get really hot. So he left the leaf blower on for 10 minutes, and then he, use the heat from the leaf blower to cook the toast, but then by the time he was finished, it had already snowed on it. So,
So it wasn't that he couldn't fit it through the door. It was just like, oh, it's ruined before I could bring it through the door.
Right, but I mean, are you going to tell a wide-eyed 5-year-old, oh, the toast is ruined? No, you're going to say, I did my best.
I would love to have a piece of Texas toast that big, which they would call Chicago toast, I guess, or Illinois toast.
Well, that's where it originated. Texas
like
stole that idea, by the way.
That's okay. I would like to have a piece of toast that big, rip out just like my body shape, just a little bit, just like an indention, not like a hole, right? So that I can lie down and like snuggle in a warm piece of toast, and then every once in a while I can like lean over and like take a bite.
So like memory toast. You know, like
is that a memory foam?
Yeah.
New memory toast from Casper mattresses.
It remembers. Do you? All right. So let's get into the plot of this movie. So,
so someone dies.
Yeah,
he's dying.
Yeah. A family member had a heart attack.
That's right.
And the mom of the clan is like, we got to leave right now. And instead of taking our kids with us, we're going to be like, no, they should stay here. We'll just have someone watch them.
They have to go to school for 3 days instead of going to see their relative that might be dying. Oh, and it's one of our kids' birthday, but we'd rather be alone with someone he doesn't know.
Exactly. And they try to call, they say, we got to get the Robinsons or whoever, the Nevilles.
The Nevilles.
There it is, yeah.
Memory.
Because I was thinking of like, oh, it's an iCarly villain. What's his name? Neville. It's the Nevilles. So, right? Am I correct on that?
They say, I don't know about iCarly, but they said, the husband says, I've called everyone. And she says, did you try the Nevilles? And he goes, yeah, they said, no, our kids are gross or whatever.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, what about my brother? What about my Uncle Buck?
Hey, what about Buck? And she's like, what?
But he's a bachelor. Remember see again with the culture, like back then, if somebody was a bachelor who drank occasionally, who lived the bohemian lifestyle, you don't want them watching your kids. Yeah, try watching Captain Ron, okay? Because the same thing happens. That's basically an Uncle Buck remake, and it's awful, but I like it because it's got Martin Short and Snake Plissken. Anyway, the point is, they need someone to watch the kids. They get Uncle Buck to do it, and what does he do? This person that that the mother just marked as he's the worst. They call him at fucking after midnight, and he's like, yeah. That sounds that's what already he could have just been because he did have work the next morning or
which
whatever.
He wanted to get out of.
Yes, but still he could have got out of both.
Yeah,
let's go down that lie train
and then come up with another excuse to not go to work.
Yeah,
guys, let me clue you in on something. Coming up with an excuse to not go to work, super easy. I mean, eventually you'll get fired, but
yeah,
those first 3 to 10 times. It's cakewalk. Literally, I've called and said, sorry, I got stuck at a cakewalk.
Well, that was number 10. They were like, okay, this is the last time.
Well, no, that was actually number 3. And my boss was like, well, I mean, I guess maybe they'll bring the cake to the office. And I was like, ooh, sorry, I actually didn't win.
I actually ruined it, but with the walk. Yeah. I walked on it. You just got to think of that classic George line. It's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right. That's right.
So no, he goes to the kids and immediately pissed off teen. What was it, PTD or no RTD?
RTD.
Because I was like RTD2
daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was rude
teenage daughter 2. So it's RTD2. So she is
that will not get confusing.
No. She's super not having it. She's like, I'm going to drink black coffee.
I mean, she's like if an eye roll were a person, for sure.
Yeah, she's the living embodiment of an eye roll. I think everybody could agree with that immediately. Now, watching this movie with fresh eyes for the pod, I was kind of doing the whole I'm going to analyze this because I'm a scholar. Can't you guys tell? And... And so when this was happening, I was like, ugh, there's no way I'm going to get on her side and understand her pain because she is being a total RTD2 right now. And what do you say? It's the John Hughes magic at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, her character was pretty one-dimensional in a lot of ways.
Well, a lot of teenagers are one-dimensional.
They haven't grown old enough to have a second or third dimension yet.
No, yeah. They have to grow into it.
You get the third dimension when you start growing a belly when you're in your 30s.
Well, she was especially one-dimensional because, I'm watching her on a screen. She's not actually in my house.
Yeah, they didn't have holograms yet. So we had to watch them on this stupid flat TV.
Yeah, on these flat TVs in HD.
But she acted like her parents, I don't know, let her uncle molest her or fucking. She acts like they sent her to boarding school or something. She's like, God, I hate my parents so much. Oh, and I hate this uncle even more. I don't even want to look at you. I just want to go and fight. She was 15 years old.
Yeah, from her
in a wealthy family.
Her first line, her first line delivery is just filled with just such she's just so angry,
disdain,
as
vitriol,
as if her parents had malicious intent in moving there, because they established, we moved over here, and they don't really go too deeply into it, maybe career wise. I don't know.
Maybe it's because something happened with that daughter in the last town, and they had to it's
implied she burned a school down or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because she's clearly the problematic one. It's not oh, dad has a drinking problem or mom worries too much. She is the one who's throwing smoke bombs in Principal whatever Lewis's ear or a car or whatever kids do. I don't know what kids did back then when they had smoke bombs. Now, so she's very upset all the time. And then Macaulay Culkin is in there, and he's sweet and he's great. He's very funny. And then the daughter, she's great. She's sweet. And there's a dog.
I love that you see him cook breakfast for the kids 2 times. The first time, Macaulay Culkin says, he's cooking our garbage. And I'm like, oh, what's in it? And then I'm like, oh, it must be gross. And then Macaulay says, he put onions in the eggs. And I was like, oh, that sounds awesome.
No, that sounds amazing. And see, what confused me about that was that could that, especially with the way it was, he delivered the line, it could go either way. It could be either ew, onions, or whoa, this is fancy AF. Onions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm enjoying this.
Macaulay's like, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a bougie bitch, okay?
Yeah, because I hated...
I love some egg onions.
I hated onions back then. Too crunchy, too citrusy. Now,
okay.
But now, I love onions. I'll eat them raw. I eat it like a hand fruit.
Probably shouldn't do that.
Why? It's delicious.
Okay, well...
Are you telling me how to live my life?
I have to sit across from you.
I am an adult man.
That's debatable.
But you know who was an adult man? Fucking Uncle Buck, who had shady friends.
That's like Pal at the bowling alley that
who was
attracted girls by flipping his toothpick in his mouth, and he had a black eye, and he held his beer by keeping his index finger in the neck and offering it to people.
Well, I mean, I don't know if, again,
offering it to 15-year-olds.
Yeah. Again, with the culture back then, it was okay to hit on any woman anytime. And also with the beer, I don't know if you knew this. This is something that I learned from my mom.
Here we go.
No, I'm just kidding. I learned this from my old boss when I was 16.
Oh, you just accidentally called her mom once.
Yeah. So if you plug a beer with your finger, guess what? You're keeping the effervescence in there. So if you're kind of a slow drinker, and you have your beer sitting out, it's it's getting flat. It's actively getting flat, right? Stick your finger in there. You keep it in there.
How long are you drinking the same beer that it turns flat just sitting there?
Well,
I would argue that that all the swishing around you do, keeping it on your fucking finger, is making it flat way faster.
Well, I mean, that in itself is a trick. See, what you do is you plug your finger in there, and you're hand gesturing as you do, right? And the beer's just going everywhere. But then when you take your finger out, and then you take a drink, oh boy, all that gas is going right down into your throat.
Gas, right into your throat.
And also, this may be an urban legend, but it makes it drunk happen. It makes it larger, the alcohol.
Plugging a beer with your finger makes it larger, the alcohol. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I mean, we can't know for sure. But
there's no way to know.
But whatever the result, the side effect is clearly, oh shit, yeah, look at this 15-year-old girl. Fair game.
I mean, I did just get punched in the face by someone else for hitting on them, obviously. So let's go for it. And I guess Buck just knew Pal, but then he had his other real pal. Boy, that's confusing. He had his pal Guy, and then he knew that guy Pal.
Yeah.
This was Pal Guy. And Guy's like, hey, I'm nice. Let's go bet on ponies, please. And he was like,
well, he had a sure thing.
He's like, hey, this guy came in town and he said he owes us one. It's a sure thing. And John Candy Buck is like, okay, well, maybe I gotta watch these darn kids, but I'll probably just bring them with me. It'll be fine.
Yeah. But then little RTD Tube throws a spanner in the works when she goes missing over the weekend. Oh, how inconvenient for young Buck to be like, oh, goodness, I'm supposed to be gambling, but instead I got to find this lady. And what does he do? He chooses the lady. Well, not in a sexual conquest kind of way.
R2DT. R2, he chose?
He chose wisely. And he went to go find the girl, in which he went to a house party that everyone knows about. Again, like today, you'd be like, oh, where's the party? It's like fucking everywhere. But back then, it was like, where's the party? Over at the Tanners, you know? And then he goes there
to find Bug, which is rude teen girl lady squad's young beau who she loves so much, even though he keeps trying to take advantage of her sweet undercarriage. And so Buck's like, not on my shoes. And so he's gonna go find her. Oh, this is actually, before we talk about that, this is his like third interaction with Insect Boy, because he met him at the school, and
that was the first time he saw him.
Yeah, and he threatened to make him into a ritual killing.
Yeah.
And then the second time he threatened to circumcise his penis with a hatchet. And then now he's coming to find him at a party. I think that's pretty problematic behavior for an adult.
Well, like, because like, and I understand that like it's kind of like the ends justifies the means sort of situation because. But when you see that first interaction, he immediately is like, ooh, that guy, he's a bad egg. Do not cook that egg. He's a bad egg.
Do not cook that egg.
Yeah. But he didn't introduce immediate. God damn it. He didn't immediately introduce any tell that he was a bad guy, right? Now, I think they did this better in a little movie called House Guest with Phil Hartman and Sinbad, where the daughter is seeing a boy who is of ill intent, but it's like you see it immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his dick's out.
Now, I'm not saying House Guest is better than Uncle Buck. Pretty much the same situation. In fact, you might call that a remake. I really did like House Guest.
Don't you dare.
No, but so, yeah, he goes to the party, and he sees Bug, and he's macking on a lady, and Uncle Buck sees that the lady is not the lady he's looking for. And then Uncle Buck's like, oh, shit. Well, I'm relieved, but also, since I thought that about you earlier, you're doing to her, this new girl, the same thing that you were going to do to my daughter. So I have this drill here, and I'm going to comically make it look like I'm going to drill your dick off.
And honestly, I did a bunch of cocaine gearing up for this moment, ready. So I've got a lot of energy. So I'm gonna kidnap you.
I'm gonna kidnap the fuck out of you. He throws him in the trunk, and then it's revealed. And I will say again, at the opening of the movie, I was genuinely like, I do not like this lady. I'm not gonna like this lady. But in that moment, when they shared opening the trunk, and they look at each other, and there's that little connection that they share.
Oh, you kidnapped my boyfriend because you love me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, that's a sweet.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's funny, but it's also kind of sweet. And then what happens? The parents
learn
come
about
home.
each other and
They do.
themselves.
They do. In
And
fact,
then Uncle Buck is going to marry his girlfriend.
oh yeah, the girlfriend. Oh my God, we forgot to talk about the girlfriend.
Oh, no, we're not. We have a couple of things we still need to talk about. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the girlfriend, Chartreuse.
So, after you come home to watch your family's kids for a while, and it's been very stressful, and you need to get away. So it's time to go to the great outdoors, all right? So we're talking about great outdoors now.
Yes. Wonderful segue, brought to you by Konrad Hartman.
I just wanted to get right into it as fast as possible with no delays.
No delays at all. You know why? Because we're a podcast that does not delay or, skirvish on...
I hope you appreciate how direct we are, how little lollygagging we do on this show.
Yeah, I hate gagging and I hate lollipops.
How much time we spend... Let's see. What we try to do is
lay it all out.
Just get right to the meat.
Yes.
Of the movies.
Yes, I love meat.
We don't want to get off topic.
No.
We don't want to talk about things that don't have anything to do with anything.
We hate that.
I hate that. Man, I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and they were doing that. And I did not, I was like, you know what? I don't like this.
Dude.
This is not it.
I feel the same way. It's like, if you're going to label your shit and be like, the Joker or Joker is a terrible movie, and here's why. But then you front load it with hey, we're going to talk about Audible. And if you use this code to get into Audible. Speaking of Audible, did you know that books are also Audible?
If you go to the zoo and you go to the alligator cage or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm here to see some alligators relaxing on their bellies in the hot, hot sun or whatever. And then you get there and there's some kid in the cage getting eaten. I don't have time for this. I came here to see alligators resting on their bellies in the hot, hot sun.
Yeah.
Not resting their mouths on a bloody, bloody son of someone. Yeah, well, first they're driving to the cabin listening to Yakety Yak and singing it. And
in fact, they're all singing it, which, again, as we said with Uncle Buck, cultural difference. Obviously, the family would not be engaged with each other and singing an old song together.
Right, now they would be singing fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Wait, that was the same time period.
Yeah.
So now they'd be singing
no, they
shake it off, shake it off.
Wait, that's
Taylor
still
Swift.
10 or 15 years ago.
Listen, I'm old.
No, the point is they would not be singing at all. The parents would be arguing about if they're going the right way, and then the daughter and the son would each have their own iPad and earphones that they're listening and activitying with.
So, dad is yelling, mom is crying, son is playing video games, daughter's live streaming it all on TikTok.
Oh, yes, live streaming. There you go.
Yeah.
And, he's playing Minecraft or something. They still do that. That is not irrelevant. Also, the mom has a glass of wine. It doesn't matter.
In the car, not a glass, like a stemmed glass of wine in the car.
It's fine because of two reasons. One, she's not driving. And two, the liquor laws have changed since COVID, so you can kind of do that.
Just heads up, you can't do that.
You can
do that. You'll get in trouble.
You can. All right, let me rephrase that. You can get away with it.
That has not changed. That's the same.
If you do not get caught, you can get away with it. Wait, that goes for all.
Is anything illegal if you get away with it?
Exactly.
That's the real question.
Exactly. That's why, you can still ritualistically sacrifice someone.
Well, that's protected under the First Amendment. That's freedom of religion. So
yeah, exactly. Freedom of speech.
But it's not protected under the First Commandment, double jeopardy. So
double jeopardy.
So can't mistrial.
So fucking take that, Alex Trebek. I'm sorry. I called out the wrong person.
Mayim Bialik.
Take that, Ashley Judd. from the...
No, I yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, you're on this very film scholarly show. I don't know why I need to point out all these.
So there they are singing Yakety Yak, Don't Talk Back, which is not the policy of this show. And they get to their cabin, and John Candy's like, "Oh, my family's at the cabin. This is going to be so fun. And I get father-son time with my 2 sons and my wife." And all of a sudden you hear this, like, aggressive Money Man saxophone music. And then there's Dan Aykroyd and his family with Annette Bening and his 2 creepy twins.
Well, that's the music is to show the families, because Yakety Yak plays with the Candy family, and they're like,
we have structure. Our kids don't get no money unless they take out the trash or whatever the lines are. Yeah.
And then the Aykroyd family
put out the dog and bring out the cat and take out the dog or whatever. Wait, take him out? Like, kill him?
Well, yeah.
Yakety Yak, you don't get your allowance until you kill the dog.
Well, I mean, it's all like...
Our dog has cancer until you take him out back and shoot him. We're not giving you your allowance.
No, it's all figurative, It's like, they're code words, because they're sleeper agents. But we'll get into...
because the dog actually represents a human being.
Yes, a human being who is probably a dictator or something, It's all good. It's all money, as they say. That's a lyric from the movie. So they get to the cabin, and Candy family is like, we're going to do vacation. Now, I appreciate a movie that gets into it, okay? The Dark Knight, okay, opens with bank heist, Joker, bam. Great Outdoors opens.
Bank heist, Joker.
And that Joker's name? Dan Aykroyd. And they get to the cabin, and it's like, this is the fucking movie.
And Dan Aykroyd is like, "Oh no, I killed the bus driver." I'm like, what?
You like these lobster tails? Let me tell you how I got these lobster tails.
$28 a pop. Why do I keep making everyone Jack Nicholson?
A.K.A. Chucky.
A.K.A. Charles Lee Ray.
Well, I mean, you've got range. That's what that is. So, oh God, I choked on my own self-satisfaction. So, not Chucky, Candyman, or John Candy is at the club.
Oh my God, dude.
Let me reset. Okay, so the Candy family get to the cabin. The candy cabin, if you will, which made of candy canes. That's right. They lure children in the off season. A witch inhabits the cabin and lures Hansel and Gretel. And Gretel. And then she gets cooked.
Don't be culturally insensitive.
So they get to the cabin and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do this." Now, here's the thing. Okay, gloves off. Okay, kid gloves off. So I loved this movie as a kid because of all the stuff, right? Now, as an adult and obvious film scholar, watching this movie, it almost feels like it's just a series of gags, right?
Oh, sure.
It's not so much a movie and more of just like, because they set up that this and that, and they get some exposition, which the exposition is, we're vacationing, and here's Dan Aykroyd, who's the brother-in-law.
That is never made clear what his relationship is to Chet.
Yeah. Well, is he brothers with Candy or brothers with sister?
What it sounds like. So here's what makes it confusing.
Yeah.
In all the descriptions of this movie online and everything, it says that he's Chet's. Dan Aykroyd is Candyman's brother-in-law,
right.
But he later says that he and John Candy are blood.
Yes, they're blood.
Which, if he's brother-in-law and they're blood, problems.
Yeah, but then you have to really go. Okay, those poor kids. They're vacationing in Canada. Are they from Arkansas?
No wonder those twins are creepy and weird. That they're inbred. But then it's kind of implied that. Okay, so here's the thing. It seems like he is like Mrs. Candyman's brother-in-law or something. Like it's weird how he treats them very familiar, but he seems like a tertiary family member. It's very confusing.
It is, and
so I still don't know the answer.
Well, right, because all of that realism gets super bogged down by all the fun gags.
Yeah, so really, like, you know, this movie, like when you talk about the length of the movie, it's sort of like talking about driving somewhere and how long it takes versus As the Crow Flies. You know what I mean? Like, As the Crow Flies somewhere directly, it's a lot faster. Like this movie, the actual plot of this movie, As the Crow Flies, well, it would be like 25 minutes long.
Well, The Crow is like a 2-hour movie or something.
Right, but he didn't fly. So,
well, not in his human form.
Right.
When he came back.
Right. So it's only a third longer than it would have been because he did fly some of the time.
Oh, I see. So you're talking about only the times when he was the titular crow.
But, you know, the plot of this movie, if you just like ran it straight and removed like some of the gags, it would be 40 minutes long probably.
Yeah.
Because it's already only 90 minutes and there's like no substance to the plot. Now, I'm not saying it's not good. I love this movie, but I'm agreeing with you though. It's not as substantive.
Right. Yeah. And especially when you look at other John Hughes movies at a certain point, because we're not talking about his later career, which includes movies like Baby's Day Out, which is
Home Alone,
or Home Alone. Which Home Alone has no narrative. It's just it's a SNL sketch
that is
stretched to a feature length.
Listen, lovely spectators and film fighters alike, if anyone ever asks you to explain what the term high concept means, Home Alone is the perfect example of high concept. It is a plot you can describe in 2 words that also happen to be the title. So,
it's very high concept. It's Criterion Collection, really.
That's not what high concept means.
Yes,
it means
is.
that the concept was come up when you were like super baked and you're like, whoa, what if some kid was like Home Alone, bro? That would be gnarly.
Whoa, dude, you had me at Home Alone. Here's $10 million. That's what it's going to be called. Oh, shit.
Wait, what did I say?
Should we write a script? What? No, dude, he's already there. What are you saying?
So, fun fact for those who are unaware, and I know you're aware of this probably, Jono, but John Candy actually became a part of Second City because of Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd was part of Second City, and he kind of got John Candy in there because he liked him so much. And then Dan Aykroyd went on to be part of the first cast of SNL, and John Candy with people like Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara and stuff made SCTV, Second City TV.
That's right.
And so it's great to see them in this because they have great chemistry. They are obviously longtime friends because of how well they play off of each other. Not that they seem like friends in the movie. They play against each other very well in this kind of semi-friendly yet semi-adversarial relationship that they have, and it's very good. It's very natural.
No, yeah, and the pairing of them is perfect in that they are kind of adversarial because they are so different, and it's wonderful to see 2 kind of like titans of comedy, if you will.
Sure.
Still establish such a great connection. And I don't mean in that cheap way that like, I'm sorry, I don't care about, Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. One's real big and one's real small. That equals chemistry and they're funny.
You're small. What do you mean I'm small? Yeah.
I don't care about that. But like with them, not just on screen, but personality wise, because John Candy in real life is such a sweetheart, and he's patient and he's open and wonderful. And Dan Aykroyd, I mean, we all know he can be kind of difficult, and he
really,
and he's a weirdo, and he like, and like with like the stories about like how the script of Ghostbusters and even like the thing with Nothing But Trouble, like he just goes so nuts, and he's very eccentric.
I don't know about all that.
He's very eccentric in real life, and he believes so hard in like the aliens and ghost stuff. Like he goes out there, and to see them acting as characters, like you kind of like see this wonderful chemistry between them, which is like it's that lightning in a bottle thing.
I also think it's there's something to be said with when you're really close with a co-worker or a performer like that, when you can kind of tap into those things. You know, it's like everyone you love has stuff that that irritates you about them. Mm-hmm. It's like as a performer, right, being like, we're best buds. Now I'm going to tap into like being kind of like irked by you the whole time, and they keep that like. I love that John Candy. It's not an explosive irritation. It's a smoldering irritation. The entire movie where he's just like, God, this is driving me so fucking crazy, but he's keeping it contained. It's very good.
Yeah, and that's due in part to the direction. You know what I mean? Like there are directors. John Hughes was good at this, but I mean, I wouldn't call him like an amazing director, but he was still good at being able to hone into that sort of thing. The kind of naturalness to an actor's approach or even a comedian's approach, which because everything for me, stuff like this always comes back to Paul Feig, which is the opposite of a comedian's director. He does not know how to hone in that stuff. He is more of a, oh, you're a comedian. Well, just be a comedian all the time forever. I don't fucking care about the script or the direction. Just do it for 40 minutes while we record everything, and we'll leave it to the editor to figure out what's the best. No, like you have these comedians, and I imagine like they did have fun on set, and they might have like, there's outtakes or what have you, but he's still able to rope that in. And you said it perfectly, where it's more of a smoldering, like it's more of just like, you can see him like just like, under a poorer director's helm, just be like, yeah, how does that make you feel? Just do something funny, react funny, like explode. And it's like, no, that's not his character. His character is more just...
And it's funnier if you build it up and then let it go like at the end. It's not funny to just blow your proverbial, the polite way to say it, I think, is wad. Right at the beginning. Yeah. So one of these great instances, and no, we're not going to talk about lips and assholes and hot dogs.
What is this topic? I think the lovely spectators want to know, like me.
Oh, remember? This guy wanted to eat hot dogs. You know what hot dogs are made of, don't you, Chet? Lips and assholes. And he goes, oh yeah, because I'm just an idiot. I like assholes.
Like you.
Get it? And then he's like, what do you mean, Chet?
I'm not a hot dog.
I'm not a hot dog.
But I am hot dogging with Annette Bening over here.
And I am making lobster tails, getting some tail.
Getting some tail.
Well, hopefully we're at the tail end of this conversation. I don't really have anything else. He's like,
see, John Hughes would cut that out immediately. Like he would be like, okay, stop.
And Chet Candy is like, oh, we're gonna rent a pontoon boat. It's really fun. We're gonna roll around the lake, and we can even bring the barbecue on it.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Dan Aykroyd is like, no way, dude.
Wait, I'm sorry. George Lucas and Michelangelo from Ninja Turtles are having this conversation?
Yeah. No way, dude. We're going to get this totally rad speedboat, and your kids are going to love me more than you. What do you say, kids? And they're like, yeah, fuck you, Dad. We like the speedboat. The flames painted on the side, and we're going to start crack cocaine on it. And Dan Aykroyd's like, take that, bitch. And Candyman's like, well, if that's what you want, then I guess that's what we'll do. And then we have one of my favorite 80s movies tropes, which is sports wackiness.
Oh yes, you've got it's you have to
specifically ski wackiness, like in the
water
Steve
ski.
Holland movie Better Off Dead.
Yes, of course. And he also had he continued that wackiness of the water variety with One Crazy Summer, which is a previous episode that we did. So check it out.
Check it out. It's episode number Future Jono.
Are you shitting me? It's One Crazy Summer versus Better Off Dead, all right? Yeah. Just look it up. It's great.
But, John Candy's a man of a certain carriage. And so you see him whacking about on the water, being like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" And Dan Aykroyd's like, "Whoa, faster, right, dude?
Well, surf's up, dude."
Yeah. Now he's Otto. Simpsons. Whoa! I like the way you're surfing, dude, on those water skis.
Oh, Bartman. I mean, Candyman. So yeah, and the thing about me is that, like, when I watch movies, I get way too bogged down with the logic, but also I don't get bogged down with this, but I think it's interesting to kind of like look for, right? When you see like the change between actor and stunt person. But now I'm not saying that John Candy was actually like water skiing, but I did think it was impressive to have those shots of him that made it look like he was.
It really did.
Whether he actually was or was just in a rig with water. Like, I mean, he was traveling, but he could still have been like in a rig, like the way you do when you're filming like an action scene with cars or whatever. It's like, it's a special rig that's not a real car, blah, blah, blah. But he was still out there. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So, real fun.
And he also was his own stuntman when he ate the old 96.
Now, yeah, I did notice there was a different guy eating that steak. Very noticeable in HD.
Yeah, his name was John Meaty. John Candy was like, "Well, if it was a giant peppermint, I would have had you covered, but I'm actually vegan."
Because I am Canadian.
Because I'm Canadian. All Canadians are vegan. Well-known fact.
Yeah.
Poutine's not real.
Let's talk about the old 96er for a second. Now, this is probably the scene that it sticks out for me personally, because I watched this a lot as a kid. And when I think of The Great Outdoors, that's the scene, because not only is it unique to the movie, as far as like, this is funny, this is interesting. Also, there's like a time clock because the sun, who cares, right? But I'm just saying that's part of it. But the way it's shot almost feels like they were
because the sun has to get to his date.
Yeah, his date. But like it's kind of shot almost like they're kind of like harking back on like those horror elements from like the 50s and 60s, because they're all there's like not necessarily Dutch angles, but like just God, I'm spacing on what they're called, but when it's from the ground up, because when you see the butcher come out, he almost looks like he's 30 feet tall.
Yeah.
And he's got this big beard.
He's covered in blood. So there's an in-house butcher at this place.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's a nice place. They have a freezer that's 30 by 30 feet that has just like 4 racks of meat in it.
Yeah, and it has the old 96er, which looks like you took from its a slice of a cow from its top to bottom, but that cow didn't have ribs. Like, it's like a section of a cow.
Yeah, from nose to tea kettle. I don't know what I don't know.
It was the opposite. It's vertical. So it's like if you sliced a cow from back to belly,
from
straight
balloon
down. Like if you cut a cow in half and then moved like 8 inches and then cut another right down the middle, that would be and then peel the skin off.
From balloon to boob. From boob to balloon.
Oh my God.
Cut that out. So it's a big cut of meat. Is what you're saying.
And he has to, and 90, I'm pretty positive that 96 ounces of beef would kill you.
Well, yeah.
If you eat it at once. But that does also hearken to our home state of...
We're the state that allows you to drink booze in the car.
That is not true, PSA. That is not true.
Well,
that means please stop asking.
It's a winking law, as they say.
You know what is funny? My wife may or may not run a restaurant, and that restaurant may or may not have people walk in every day with roadies from the country club that they have to say, please throw out your illegal alcohol that you brought in here. It happens like a lot. Like a lot. I've never worked in a place where that happened. So, so he's eating 96 ounces of beef. That's very gross. He has to eat all the fat and the gristle, and yay. But we're living in a state where we actually have a couple of steakhouses that do like the big steak challenge, and they're always called like the Big Oil Derrick.
Do you remember the place? I went there, and my brother ordered it, and he didn't finish it, obviously. But there was a place somewhere, and it was a burger. It was like a gigantic burger, and if you finished it, you didn't get the whole meal. You didn't get the whole receipt for free. You just got just that for free. Yeah, which is insane because that must have cost like what, $200 for
in hospital
everything?
Bills. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's an asterisk.
You get the burger for free, but they're not paying your medical bills.
Does not cover that.
We do not pay for clogged colons.
I mean, you will be in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
But not in our cash register.
Asterisk at the bottom. Limit 2 thoughts in prayers per person per day.
Yep,
we're trying to run a business here. Time is money, okay?
It's 2022, guys. That's the reality. We will post on our socials for a couple days, but then we will start advertising a restaurant.
We'll change the filter on our profile picture to a big burger and hands praying.
So Hamburglar praying.
You know how they have those...
I'm sorry, Mary McCheese.
Yeah, you know how you have those like those bumper stickers where Calvin's peeing on stuff, and then you have the people who are like, "Oh, we're religious, so you got Calvin kneeling at the cross." Yeah, so they're gonna have the Hamburglar kneeling at the cross on the back of their truck. No, Mayor McCheese.
That's what I'm saying, Mayor McCheese. Oh. Wait, you know what? Actually, you know what? I always hate I hate the Calvin pissing on things. As a Calvin and Hobbes fan, as a kid growing up with it, I still, and I'm not looked into it because it seems weird to do that randomly, but now I may in the future. How did that get out of hand? Because like that's a character design.
Bill Watterson never supported that.
That's what I'm saying. Like
he tried to sue people for it, I believe.
Okay,
I don't know that he ever won.
Well, I've not seen any new iterations of it, so maybe there was a cease and desist that was successful.
Yeah, hopefully so.
But like, it just pissed me off because it's like, that's not even indicative of the character, which, like, I guess you could say if you went a Ren and Stimpy adult, route, it's like, yeah, Calvin would be the type to do that. And it's like, but that takes it away because his misbehavior was always on an innocent...
Philosophical. Oh.
Well, it was always on an innocent level.
Sure.
Because he was always just... Oh, he's disruptive at school because he's daydreaming, because he's clearly because clearly he's either autistic or a genius and he's bored of fucking school. Yeah. And like when he was mean to Susie, it was always because like you always thought that, it's at that age, it's probably because he may have had a crush on her.
Oh, no, it's because she was a cunt.
What? I'm just joking. I mean, she, as much as
she was cool. Susie was cool.
Yeah, Susie was
cool. She just play house and stuff.
I liked her. I had a crush on her.
So, I want to talk about the raccoons for a minute.
Yes. We could not discuss the great outdoors without talking about the raccoons.
So, this is a thing, I really want to say this is a John Hughes thing, but I can't think of another good example of it. But this, like, random, like, oh, in this world, like, animals are way smarter than we thought. It's a very... Here's the weird
Wait a minute. Is this the Santa Claus thing that I just can't get behind?
No.
Or... okay.
No, go back and listen to that episode, ladies and gentlemen.
All the times I talk about it.
Yeah. So, the raccoons are very smart and communicate with each other. And they're like... Oh, yes, Gerard. They have left us this divine snack of
trash.
And he's like swirling the rotten meat in his glass, and they're like, "Ah, yes, a very good vintage." And then you got this dumb bear later that's just like, not talking to anyone, not being smart,
well,
just getting its rear end shot.
Oh, so you're saying
with
that
a
there's
lamp gun?
You're saying there's a political agenda in this?
Hey, you know what? I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but that is absolutely Illuminati lizard people message.
As a guy who likes to play the harp when I'm dead, I would love to harp on that. But it's John Hughes we're talking about, and he is always he does not have any political agenda at all, except in the movie Dennis the Menace, clearly about the unfairness in political wages with the a certain class.
Ooh, and The Great Outdoors was all about financial disparity when you really think about it, because it turns out Dan Aykroyd was there to fleece Chet the whole time.
Well, yeah, but that was just because of Trading Places, because we all know that
he's his same character from Trading Places. Except he lost all his money.
It's the alternate timeline. People, I don't know if you know this. Do not look it up because it's absolutely wrong. But
yeah, because they're burying the fucking headline because they don't want you to know. Lizard Illuminati, wake up, sheeple.
Yeah, it's a lizardami, okay? We all know this. Look it up on Adult Swim during their Toonami block of anime.
That does not exist anymore.
Lizardami. No, but the character of Dan Aykroyd in Trading Places in an alternate timeline loses all the money and becomes a total jackass.
And he becomes Chet, who played by John Candy.
Yes.
In The Great Outdoors.
Yes, and he loses he loses Jamie Lee Curtis and goes with Annette Bening.
No, he's represented by John Candy. He lost all his money and becomes John Candy.
Oh no, Dan Aykroyd was in.
He's playing the other character.
No, that's so confusing.
Oh, the rest of it made perfect sense.
It does if you ignore a whole lot of stuff.
And now you understand economics.
Yes. Yeah, you don't need that, okay? Just watch these two movies and you will totally win at the stock market.
Watching these two movies is equal to having an MBA.
That's right. Oh, wait, actually, watching these two movies and then also watch Limitless.
Right.
That's
the same as having an MBA from the University of Phoenix online, not in person.
That's right.
Oh, wait, it's only online, isn't it?
What? Listen, the point is there's a bunch of just gags. There's a bat.
Oh, yeah, that's what we were talking
There's a... Yeah, coming back, guys. Okay, so there's a bat in the belfry. There's the water skiing. There's what was another gag that they did?
There's a bear story.
Oh, the bear story, which again, that was told very much like the 96er, where it's it's. In fact, that was probably the best. I know he's telling a story, but it was the best storytelling from a cinematography point of view, because you had all of these really cool shots and really cool it's really neat. And this was during a time when you could just tell a story and a kid who's 12 or 13 would literally be like, oh, this is scary. Which, yes, stories are scary, but it's hard to believe now because the art of storytelling is so lost unless you're watching YouTube creepypasta videos or whatever, which some are good. But The point is just seeing an adult tell a story to kids and other adults, it was kind of neat. But then, fast forward. Oh, wait. And there's the story with the kid and the girl.
Hang on, but you just blew my mind. Because I just realized that this whole thing, the twins being really creepy, them, being like, oh, hot dogs, no, lobster tails, and then no, fancy speedboat. The steak was 96 ounces. This is all from the perspective of one of the sons of Chet. And this movie is like a memory of a kid going to the cabin, and everything's like a little exaggerated.
Whoa.
And so like everything's a little bit more mysterious and fantastical. Like the love interest, it's more dramatic than in real life, and it's
more specific.
And so this is all just like, this is how I remembered it. This is like the memoir of like a kid and how their uncle came to live with them at the end of this trip.
You know, I was going to come back at this with like a joke, but I'm going to usurp that with a piggybacking that is an amazing analyzation of this, because John Hughes wrote the original Vacation story in National Lampoon. And that is from the perspective of a kid remembering his vacation with his family from like the 50s or whatever. And obviously they made it into a movie and it's just about the family. But like that's, oh, wow. Okay. Guys, this is not going to be comedic for a minute or two. So just bear down or skip.
No, just listen to what we have to say.
No, but like that is so interesting to me, because like I off the podcast, me and Konrad were talking about these movies because, you know, we like to just kind of get a preamble going. But I was really laying heavy on the idea that this is just a series of stuff that happens with no like direct storyline. However, the storyline, if you will, between the son and the girl is very specific. There's a connecting line, and it's not like it almost feels like if you could see an alternate movie where it's just about them and the background is, oh, I have this family. And yeah, that could come across as like memories of that time where like, oh, he hyper realistically remembers his time with this lady, and it's like, oh yeah, there was a bat and it was weird. My dad and my, I guess, uncle-in-law-ish is weird.
That's why they don't remember. They're like, I don't remember how he's related to us.
Because, oh my God. Oh, wow. Okay. This movie wins.
Well, but you could make the same argument about Uncle Buck, too.
Well,
that's why the pancakes were so big, and about the toast.
So it's from Macaulay Culkin.
That's right.
It circles back to Home Alone. Oh my God, is he the same guy? Shit.
Well, we've been to the great outdoors, and we have definitely bucked our uncle. We've had an old 96er, a stack of pancakes, and an existential crisis. So, it's time to pick a winner. Jono, out of these two John Candy, John Hughes classic movies, what do you think? What's the final word from you?
Oh, boy. Well, I definitely enjoyed both of these movies as I did as in childhood. I coming back at it as an adult and as a film scholar, you know what? I'm going to say Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck just barely cinches it for me because it's, you know, narratively, it's just seamless, and the characters are great, and most importantly, it does what is so rare that I see in television and movies, where it genuinely brought me back from a character. Because as I said, I really did not like RTD2 in the beginning, but at the end, I was like, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So Uncle Buck.
She's a bitch with a reason.
That's right. Yeah. Like, you know, Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2. You know, it's like,
there you go.
You know? So she's my Linda Hamilton. Well, what about
wife
you?
of the president?
What say you, Konrad?
Well, so on the one hand, Uncle Buck is a great character study. On the other hand, Great Outdoors had an end credit scene with Dan Aykroyd dancing a bunch.
Oh my God. We never talked about that.
Saved it for this moment.
Yeah.
But I also have to pick Uncle Buck. It's absolutely my favorite. I knew it was already, and I tried to go into this neutrally, but even after rewatching both of them for the pod, I love Great Outdoors, and there are a lot of great things about it, but man, Uncle Buck is just so well paced and has so many great jokes, and yeah, it's richer characters, I feel like, and yeah, Uncle Buck is it.
Uncle Buck is it. Say that 10 times. Coke in a mirror. 5, 3.
Coke? What?
Like Candyman. Get it?
But why Coke?
Because that was their slogan.
Because you're a teenager, you're all hopped up on sodies.
That's right. And ramen noodle.
And cocaine.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Uncle Buck is this week's champion.
So, folks, if you want to take this quarter and give it to a rat downtown to have it gnaw that thing off your face, shoot us an email at battles@filmfightspodcast.com. Make sure you're subscribing and rating wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And also raving.
Let us know if you have ideas for future battles. And, eat yourself a big old stack of pancakes with a big piece of beef on top, because it's the great outdoors here in Chicago, Uncle Buck.
That's making me hungry. And, all this talk about food makes me think of one thing. It's dinner time.
What?
Yep. I have a dinner of socks. But speaking of socks, Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's when I do my laundry, too.
Mm-hmm. And I am thankful that the invention of socks exists, because without socks, I wouldn't be able to eat. Now, but with my socks on my feet and food in my mouth, it makes me think about food, because food isn't currently in my mouth.
Bye! There is not a cheesy chocolate fondue.
Yes, there is.
Well, then I don't want to be alive anymore.
There's an album by Ween called
right.
Chocolate Cheese.
Yeah, you also can't piss up a rope, even though Ween told you to.
You can if you're upside down.
That would be pissing down a rope.
No.
That's it. No. An astronaut could piss up a rope.
All right, what if you're in zero gravity?
I just said an astronaut could.
Well, an astronaut can't do it on Earth in a normal room.
Yeah, it was implied that they would not on planet Earth.
It wasn't implied to me.
I implied it, you just didn't in-fly it.
And also, astronauts can be on the moon and still not piss up. They would just piss down slow. How far could you piss on the moon? You ever try to do that when you're on the beach? You try to piss and go...
You ever try to do it on the beach of the moon?
No.
The moon doesn't have beaches.
Well, not yet.
Yeah.
Wait,
I bet there's some hot alien beaches up there.
That's the biggest flaw of the moon. It can control our tides, just not its own.
Oh, wow. That's the tragic story of why the man in the moon is always looking at us all like with that cheesy frown.
Yeah. And why he's got all these switches that he has to pull that control Eraserhead's mind.
Oh,
or whatever the fuck that was. I like to think that they were controlling his mind. All right, let's
we're going to do the intro?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Intro, then shot?
Yeah.
You recording?
Mm-hmm.